All right, all right. We got to make this live stream brief, guys, okay? Because I have a client right after this. You know, it's just a part of the process of saving the day, I guess. Let's get started. What's happening, guys? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy. If you're listening for the first time, welcome. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. You already know what it is. Basically, today I want to talk to you guys about breaking out of the matrix. Okay, let's break out of the matrix. Let's find our own flow code that can actually be a glitch in that matrix and get us to move forward with momentum and motivation. You see, dopamine is a very top currency, okay? Because a lot of things take away our attention, therefore, also taking away our reward system and how we don't know what to do with this extraneous energy or lack of energy for a better explode. So basically, I got a download very recently that told me about the word format. Okay. So the word format is for matrix. Okay, mat matrix. When you create a format, you're not going by what everybody else is doing. You're not following some copied structure. I'm talking about creating your own format. So if it's for the matrix, when you create a format, it's for the matrix. And when you can understand that your format is where your form is at, okay, also very important to understand these concepts. So your format is where your form is at, your physical incarnation here in this physical beingness. That is where it's at, okay? So once you create a format, it's to understand that you've got to rely on certain principles to first of all understand the matrix. You see, we can't break something that we don't understand. Awareness precedes control. So the way to break out of the matrix is to first of all understand the way that the matrix works and how it functions. If you understood back in the day when the movie Matrix came out, it was like the 2000s, okay? Now it's very interesting because the idea of Neo being the one, which is if you flip the word Neo around, you get one, right? It's important to understand that they were using the analogy of Plato's cave. How, there are these people shining these lights, and you see this reality the way that it's supposed to be seen. Now, through media, through brainwashing, through different techniques, we are seeing reality in a very specific way to actually get us into a fear based state of mind rather than a flow based state of mind. And you see a lot of practitioners talking about this idea. But basically, to get into more of a flow state, you have to go from that fear based mind, which is a parasympathetic. If we're talking about the autonomic nervous system, you're thinking about the parasympathetic nervous system, which is actually understanding that, you're going from sympathetic to parasympathetic and parasympathetic to sympathetic. So it's like flow and fear, flow and fear, flow and fear, rest and digest, and fight, flight, flee, right? And freeze as well. So it's important to understand that if you are to get into a flow state, one of the key ways to access the flow state is to control your breathing. Okay. Your breath actually changes the code of how you feel. And when how you feel changes, it also changes your vibration. Okay. So basically, you want to get to a higher vibration, higher vibrational frequency. You've seen a lot of maybe YouTubers or people talk about this idea. But start to understand that for a person who is at a high vibration, they're actually accessing a level of stillness, which is very, very powerful. And they're moving so fast that they're still, if this is making sense to you. Okay, so the vibration is so fast that it just looks like a movie reel in that stillness. So people actually higher in their states of consciousness, they're able to get to a 0 point position. Okay, this is how you start to control the matrix by getting into a stillness, by getting into a sense of, hey, I'm the observer now. And maybe you've heard this through many different practices, right? You might be reading Eckhart Tolle or understanding some of the concepts from all these different ascended masters, or these gurus that are telling you that you got to do this, this, and this. You got to climb up a mountain. You got to chant this 500 times. You got to go around a lake and have your room facing eastwards, or whatever rules that they're giving you. Now, if you're smart in this game, you're going to understand that these people, they did that so you don't have to do that. Okay, you've got to learn from their process, because they got very specific results by meditating in a cave, or the ancient yogis, they saw these yantras, right? These patterns. Now these similar fractal type of imagery, you see this in art, you see this in people who report taking psychedelics, that they report seeing fractals, or mushrooms, or things like this, right? Now you understand that these sages, they knew this even before we in the current modern society started to explore these concepts and see that, hey, there's something to the sacred geometry thing, right? So many cultures, they design their churches and cathedrals and temples and mosques in a certain specific way, in a certain frequency that creates the law of resonance. So what resonates at your frequency? It's important to understand this, and what doesn't resonate at your frequency. The matrix will try and keep your frequency down. Okay, it's not going to get you to ascend to a higher rung of the ladder. Even you notice this in Hollywood movies. Why aren't there spiritual concepts in a lot of Hollywood movies? I think they're starting to weave them in very subtly. Like, I know in the movie Soul, for instance, they started talking about mystics without borders. Okay, now that's a very powerful idea already, and the idea of being able to access the flow through music, because music can actually change our blood pressure and a lot of different things, right? It has an impact over our beingness. You also understand, back in the day, they used to have certain hertz frequency in certain temples and things like this, right? So it's really important to understand how important sounds actually are in getting us to retune ourselves. I recently came across something where someone created a 432 hertz um, media player. So that means you can basically drag and drop any video into that media player, or you can take any song into that media player, and it will tune the frequency from whatever frequency it is to 432 hertz, which is basically the Schumann resonance, the tone that is healing and, in a sense, connected to the earth. Okay, connected to the vibration of the earth, connected to the Om. Okay, connected to that vibration. That's very high up on the consciousness scale. Also, start to understand in the consciousness scale media, like music, art. Okay, these things are actually pretty high up on the vibration scale. So, what are they doing to us, right? They're using media, which is actually of a pretty high vibration, but then they're subliminally hitting us with lower vibration. So our mind gets in this split and it gets confused, because we're dancing in a club, or we're dancing to some music with some atrocious lyrics in them, right? And it's a bop. It's a bop. You're jamming to it. The music sounds great. You're going, but it's subliminally hitting you on an unconscious frequency. Okay. It's very important to understand that. I'm starting to listen to more positive artists. One artist that I highly, highly recommend you guys check out. He's a spiritual rapper, okay? It's very important you check this artist out, because he's actually breaking the matrix apart with his music. And when you can understand this example, you can understand what I mean by this guy is really tapping into these high vibrations through his music. Now, sometimes, I will listen to some songs and I will get into a higher vibration. It's important to understand what exactly that is. how does music have such a quick impact that we can just put our headphones on or put our speakers on or just have, have a musical instrument, and it can actually change the tuning of our mind, not just the tuning of the instrument, right? It's it's very impactful that these, C scale, D scale, all these things are actually being interpreted through our bodies. So you want your exhales to be longer than your inhales when you're trying to tap in, okay? Really start to understand the breath. There's certain foods that you can eat that will also help you if you want to be more in a sympathetic state, or a parasympathetic state, if you choose to. So, hmm, what was I talking about? Music, right? So, this idea that music has this essence, this control, it controls the ability for you to get into ecstatic states or not. And also the same thing with binaural entrainment, isochronic tones. These are things that I make, obviously, right, on my other channel, Cellism Tones, as well as, I get requests all the time from people wanting very, very specific frequencies and morphic frequencies. Morphic frequencies change are morphing, right? They morph you, and they don't necessarily have to be played through headphones as well, because the musical vibrations that are created actually change. Okay. Um, Basically, the subliminal is taken, rearranged, and through the subliminals, they make the subliminal into a sound. Okay. And the sound is tuned towards a specific frequency. Through that frequency, that's when it becomes a morphic frequency. So, I mean, you guys don't have to understand this, but the thing about it is really important when you're considering your subconscious mind, because that's the place where your fears reside, right? And that's why it's very important to write your fears out. What are you actually afraid of? And expose it for the illusion that it is. Because what does the Matrix create? It creates an illusion, right? Plato's cave, it's an illusory world. It's this Gnostic idea that there's this demiurge, that's the false god that's controlling this matrix. He's the one behind the simulation, or she, we don't know, right? And they're basically, controlling the switches and knobs and dials to make things move in a very particular direction. We can get really, really esoteric and really, really, deep into this by talking about the cabal or the Illuminati and what they're doing, but that's going way too far. Obviously, I want to keep this relevant to YouTube because, you know a lot of these videos that talk about this kind of stuff get blocked. But in any case, I really want you guys to understand these ideas of, first of all, you have to understand the matrix, don't get sucked into it. And then once you're in the program and you're running it, like let's say you're on a high rung of society, from a place of status, from a place of power and money, you can actually control the matrix. Okay, you can see how things are coming easier to you, and all of this, and you understand that value controls that as well. Okay, I went to a certain restaurant, like a rooftop bar, a few days ago, and the guy told us, I went with this girl, and the guy told us, hey, you can't really sit here. This place is reserved. Okay. Now, immediately, someone who's not, doesn't have that flow state frequency, doesn't have that ability to step into knowing what their value is, will give up. They'll go, okay, thank you, sir, bye. Right. But if you're treating it like, hey, I'm an elite member of this establishment, I come here a lot, is there any other place that we could sit that's not, by those tables over there? um would it be possible? Would it be possible? And he thought about it for a while. He's like, wait a second here, sir, I'll be right back. And you know we're waiting around, we're standing around, and admiring the environment and things like that. Also, it's very rainy, right? Here in Kolkata, it's very rainy right now. It's like, yeah, like a monsoon type of season. Um, so we're like freezing, right? And we're waiting. And then suddenly he says, yeah, you know what? You consider this reserved VIP seat. But if the people come back, then we're going to have to move you. Okay? I decided to take that chance. I was like, yes, thank you, sir. Right? Now, that is the ability for you to weave with the frequency somebody else is giving you. He was at a very specific level of frequency where, no, we can't do that. He basically wants everybody to be happy in that establishment, right? He doesn't want anybody to be unhappy. So, knowing that and knowing his intention, you can actually use these powers of flow state influence and be able to get whatever you want. But it's important for you to understand how the matrix works. Okay? Sometimes we need to push for our dreams and desires a little bit to give extra energy into it. How much energy are you really giving to your dreams, to your goals? Some people don't like the word goal, so just change the word. Make it an intention, make it a vision, make it a mission, make it whatever you want for yourself. Okay? That will get you closer towards that ideal version, that character version of you. Because I found myself tapping into a character version of me, where if I were to sit now and consolidate and interpret it, I was tapping into that VIP frequency, right? I was looking at the very situation, and I was thinking, hey, what are some other alternatives? What are other ways to think about this? And that creative mindset switch of abundance can start to mold this matrix around you. If you have this ability to switch into abundance, switch into abundance, switch into abundance in moments where the scarcity, right? Scar dot 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 city, scarcity, and the abundance, dancing, is a very free and expressive thing. Where scarring somebody is associated with the pain body and the traumas that we carry. So scarcity is associated with our traumas. Start to understand this. And once you, there's a little trauma tap. This is what I got from people. A little trauma tap, like a, and you're aware of it. Oh, there's a trauma. Let me transmute. Let me alchemize. What's a better way of approaching this? What's a more effective way to think about this situation? What's an easier way to accomplish this? You're thinking from effortlessness, you're thinking from ease. You know, a person who like gets on and they're trying to impress you, like you can tell, you can just tell, like, oh, this person's trying to impress me now, right? And it's a bit off-putting. But when someone is real with you, when someone is speaking from their heart, and you can get that sense of like, this person is just speaking truth, truth after truth after truth, it's actually also changing the matrix. You're breaking out of it, you're pausing it. The ability to pause the matrix is also incredible. And we can do this using our imagination too. Because imagine that you're at this place and you're looking at yourself out of body, like from a third person perspective, or, you know, just from the outside looking at you. How would you perceive that? If you saw yourself from the outside doing something, okay, like doing well at your workplace, like socializing, like, if can you look at yourself from the outside and see, like, if you were to judge somebody else or look at somebody else or discern or even be curious and start to analyze them, like, could you look at yourself and be like, hey, that guy's cool, or why is he doing that, or oh, that's awesome, or wow, that guy looks kind of upset, right? Whatever it is, you're having some kind of an internal judgment towards yourself. But now, if you're aware of that, it's not a blind spot anymore, right? It's a spotlight. So once you turn a blind spot into a spotlight, now you can start to adjust it slightly. And that's all you're doing. You're adjusting, you're playing, you're tweaking. It's a playfulness energy, right? So again, we have this ability, and I did this right now. I said to Shirsha, right? It's my friend. I told her, you know, look at this environment right now, and imagine that we're in a forest, right? And it immediately changed the way that we perceive that environment. And it got us to alter our consciousness in that moment. We went, whoa, yeah, immediately it changed for us both. So, and we were telling jokes and all this stuff, and you see these eyes from other people looking at us like, what are these people doing? Why are they laughing? What are they talking about? Because their lives are not carrying that frequency of flow. You see, flow state is magnetic. It's like a magnetic pole. So whenever somebody is tapped into this state, we love it as people. This is why we go to concerts and watch people on stage just crushing it, right? This is why we watch sports tournaments where we see people, fighting for that glory and going through that struggle phase to get to the release moment of when you holding the trophy up in the air and celebrating. You see, we're also conditioned in such a way that we're not in win-win. We're in win-lose in culture. So that's something else that the matrix does to you. Recognize that too. Okay? Bitcoin, Ethereum, okay? Crypto, all this kind of stuff is associated on wins and losses, guys. You either win or you lose. Okay? There's no win-win mentality for Bitcoin. Okay? Not that I have anything against Bitcoin. I mean, go for it. Gamble ahead. Go for it. Make your shots. Invest in something that you believe in, though. Don't just do it because other people are doing it. That's not in coordination with your own alignment and your flow state frequency. Okay, so the stock market is a rise and drop, right? Day and night rise and drop, right? There's this constant change, this constant duality. And that's the thing about the matrix is when you can become the third point in the triangle, so the duality is this and this, when you can come from here and look at the duality, now you're at the choice point. Now that choice point is that same zero consciousness I was speaking about, right? So once you look at the duality from that choice point, now you can pick and choose from the duality. But it doesn't even make sense in your mind to think of, am I having pizza today or sushi? It doesn't make sense, like, to a person who's tapped into this frequency, because they understand a spectrum of where sushi can, mix with a pizza, and it's like a sushi pizza, and like it can merge in the minds of the flow state Jedi. Okay, so this kind of vata air mind, right, of like this flowing state of consciousness where it just comes up and then it goes away, and it's like a gust of wind and then it flows away, right? That kind of mind where you're getting these ideas and they're latching onto other ideas. This mind has this ability to be a little bit airy-fairy and actually take us into our fantasies. But what if we can pull that fantasy back and make it into an anticipation? Because anticipation is also creating that dopamine, right? Anticipation of a win. So you don't even have to win. You just have to anticipate a win. That I'm on the right path. Every day in every way is getting better and better. I'm on my way to get this thing done. Let's get it today. One step closer to my true success, one step closer to my dream. Today, I'm much stronger than I was yesterday. Today, I'm not the same person that I was yesterday. And that change frequency is also a wisdom frequency. Okay? Notice that incredible public speakers, they don't memorize their speeches at all. They get on stage and they start talking. Okay? Some people can do this very well. They can go for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And you're thinking, how can this person, stay in the flow for that long? Well, there's no resistance. Remember this. For those people who are performing on stage or doing the, the marathon or whatever it is that is incredible, and you see this excellent peak performance example, you understand that that person wasn't resisting that experience. Okay? Maybe at first, a little bit of resistance, but what they did is they let go. They let go, they let go, they let go deeper onto their pathway. And that's what the spiritual journey is. Excuse me. The spiritual journey is that process of letting go, letting go, letting go of what does not belong, unlearning all the conditioning from the matrix, and becoming liberated. Okay, achieving moksha and understanding that, okay, I don't have to be attached to anything here. I'm just here to play. I'm just here to be in this matrix, but I can zoom out at any time and see the real big picture of this thing. That's how you don't get, brainwashed. That's how you don't get, caught up. Because when you're getting brainwashed, you understand that they're using your strongest beliefs against you. Okay? They're tapping into the strongest beliefs against you. So if you believe in God, they're going to use that against you. If you believe in, you know, the power of books, they're going to use that against you. Why? Well, also, you're getting documented, okay? Just start to understand this. Every single thing that you do is a timestamp, not just here, but also akashically, right? Akashically, if that's a word in the Akashic records, it's everything's being recorded, okay? In the sands of footprints on the sands of time, right? As you'd say. So, though flow state may seem temporary, we can actually create a momentum and a lifestyle based around our flow. So we know where the dips of our day is, where the different pockets of our day where we feel more low energy. We know when we can ride the wave again. We understand internally that, hey, I really need to shift this out. Maybe I'll like splash some water on my face and just, dance in my living room a little bit and then play with my dogs. And then finally, all of those activities like vagus nerve activation, right? Oxytocin release. If you're really seeing all the chemical things that are happening in the background as you do that, you will treat your activities a lot more easier. And it starts by changing around that laziness, from really changing your morning ritual around, okay? Saying to yourself and really pushing for that morning ritual. Just three things, okay? Whatever you choose. Don't overwhelm yourself by having 40 things in the morning, okay? Three essential things. Make it like a cold shower, reading, workout, or like, let's say meditation, reading, journaling. Okay. Something like this, something really simple that you can adjust and just keep doing it daily. Just keep doing it daily. Make that your practice. Or even just start with one. Okay. You got to start with one and just make that a habit first and foremost. Okay. So your habitat is where your habits are at, as I said earlier. So again, it's very important that you understand these things because, again, you're going to get skewed in a very particular direction. Okay. This is how also a lot of polarization is happening. It's a duality split polarization. You understand that, right? Two parts of the country are arguing with each other. They're made to argue with each other, guys. Okay? They're made to argue with each other. They're made to riot. They're made to make us angry and fearful and stay in low vibration. Okay? So once you can take power over your levels of consciousness and you start rising through the rungs of the ladder and you study consciousness work, right? The Hawkins scale, and then, or Lester Levin scale, whatever you want to call it. And then you're also looking at, how can you use like these ancient traditions like Qigong and Tai Chi and Tantra and all these different things that the ancient masters gave us and adopt it and apply it into the world using these Eastern philosophies and Western productivity models, putting them together and understanding that is the value of a coach, right? A coach is formatting their productivity, formatting their spiritual journey, okay? So there's a structure. So all you need to do is follow the coaching structure to get results. Hello, right? That's what I'm starting to learn as I'm on this, ICF accredited path. I'm starting to learn that, hey, you don't have to be a good coach. If you just follow the coaching process and the structure, you're going to get results. Okay? You're going to get results. So, what is your process? What is your process throughout your day? What is your process throughout your life? Are you looking at the bigger picture? Are you looking at the finish line screen of the movie and understanding what is it that you truly want? What is it that you truly prefer? Not what you don't want, okay? You got to know what we don't want, of course. However, if you focus too much on what you don't want, you're going to get you're going to get that, right? Don't think of a tiny dolphin doing backflips on your ear. Don't think about it. Don't think of that tiny dolphin doing backflips in your ear, right? It's like, of course you're going to think about it. Like, how can you stop the mind from an image like that? And that's it. We're being bombarded with all these images that we don't want to think about sometimes, but guess what? It's showing up in our consciousness. So if you don't have mind control, and what I mean by mind control is controlling your own mind first before you try to control the mind of the population or whatever, right? Or control other people. No, you can't really control other people. Internal world affects the external world, right? So for actual mind control, you have to control your own mind first, because all is mind. That's the first law of alchemy. Okay? So can you have self-control, mind control, impulse control, this ability to be like, no, stop, but yeah, oh, and you're not resisting like a stop. It's more of like a warning signal. It's like that trauma hit that the awareness kicks in now and you're like, ba 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 ba, right? Now, originally you could have acted in this specific way, right, in this specific situation. He would have gone like this. Now I notice my character changing. I notice what I'm saying, my expressions changing. Maybe I'll say something, playfully arrogant sometimes. Maybe I'll say something more peaceful and very compassionate and empathetic at times. And you start to understand you're not who you say you are. You were all of these different characters in your mind creating this experience for you. Okay? You are the people pleaser. You're also the bad boy. You're also the person who gets late to things at times. You're also the person who survived this incredible trauma. You're also this person maybe who's acted on a national film set. You're also right, and it keeps going. You have these different parts of you, right? The person who tries to be entertaining and gains validation through it. The person who goes to that David Goggins level and like really crushes it in their workouts, right? That is a version of you. So really start to understand these versions of you have got to join hands together and integrate. And don't shame yourself for being mean one day and then being really super kind the other day. Why is that happening? Your state of consciousness is shifting around. Okay, your consciousness is being hijacked. So now it's time to take power over our own consciousness and understand what we focus on grows. When we create focus, we can then dive into the flow state. We've got to know what our focus is. So you've been made to be distracted. We live in an ADHD environment. Some people won't even watch this video this far, right? They'll watch like my 2-second reel or whatever. And that's okay. I understand this information is not for everybody, but if what I'm saying resonates with you and you want to get out of the matrix, you actually want to create something sustainable that can get you from point A to point B and have flow state be your vehicle as an amplifier that gets you the results that you truly want. Do you want that in your life? If yes, give me a thumbs up. Hit that notification bell. I post every single day. You can get this information for free, or you can get someone to get you to increase your implementation velocity. And that's what I'm going to get you to do. I'm going to get you to take more action than ever before. And that, for some of you, that might be like, whoa, I don't know if and you'll feel the resistance kicking in. But guess what? Our enemy on the program of the Flow Zone Academy is resistance. This is what we've understood by Stephen Pressfield. This is what we're diving into, because that's the thing that blocks the muse. That's the thing that stops the creativity from flowing. So take the red pill. Make sure that you understand that that's a responsibility. That you now are a walking embodiment of a disruptor, a Morpheus. We need more Morpheuses here, right, than ever before. We need people to shake people up so they start to understand. A lot of people are going into winter time. But notice the winter time is also a hibernation mode, right? And so a lot of people are in hibernation, but how are they spending that hibernation? Are they just eating junk food and playing video games, or are they going internally and using these audio frequencies and things like this to access those liminal states and being able to pull out the gunk and the trauma and really understand that this life is beautiful and abundance is my birthright. Let's get it today. Upward Spiral Gang. Maybe we never be the same again. You already know, man. Also, hit that notification bell, man. Some of you are not hitting that. Let's go. Gang, gang. Upward spiral, gang, gang. That is. Yeah.